Well, checking out the vehicle today, making sure it's ready for the next trip I go on. Back here last month, it was kind of interesting. Kate and I, as most of you know, we were going to Florida, and the airplane ride didn't quite work out right. We ended up coming back, and then we was going to take the old Yukon here. We was going to take it for just a trip around West Virginia, and so plan A didn't work with the air flight. Plan B didn't work because we had some brake issues, so we went to plan C. And how many of you know sometimes that when you're doing everything, it's kind of interesting how things will happen and take plan. And sometimes you have to go with the flow. Sometimes you have to change your plans. It's kind of interesting as we do a lot of traveling and trips that, God sometimes changes the plan. And one of the things that kind of recognize here is that maybe you've had some trips that you was going on and things just didn't quite work the way you wanted it to. Maybe you started off and you had some car problems, and maybe you had to have the insurance take care of something. Maybe you had one of those car plans. Maybe you had a warranty. Maybe you just had to call mom and dad and say, hey, can you help us out? But there's always a contingency. And I find it kind of interesting that Jesus had a contingency. When we were on this route through culture and on the route to the cross, Jesus had a contingency for you and I. And it was kind of interesting because as we look at this whole trip and as we recognize that we've been on route from Route 66 to from Chicago to LA, I want you to think about this. Sometimes getting to the end of the trip wasn't always the destination. Sometimes it's getting to the destination, then having fun at the destination or having an event at the destination. And that's much like what Jesus was doing as he was en route through the culture and he was en route to the cross. A lot of times we think the cross was the destination, the end of the trip, but that's not necessarily the case. Jesus, we find in John chapter 18 and 19, was arrested in the garden. He was taken and put before the leaders of the scribes, the Sadducees, the Romans. He bounced back and forth between those two courts. Pilate finally asked the people, what do you want to do with Jesus? They said, crucify him. Crucify him. And so instead of doing that to a criminal, they made a criminal out of Jesus. And they made criminal what Jesus was doing for you and I on the Good Friday. So many years ago on Good Friday, and we call it Good Friday, it wasn't so good for Jesus because of what Jesus did for us, but it was good for us because of what he did for us. And Jesus went to the cross for you and I. I want you to think about this for just a moment. As he was carrying that cross all through Jerusalem, one of the things that was taking place was he was carrying that great big old cross. I can't imagine carrying a big old beam. He had been beaten on. He had a thorn shoved onto his head. He had been spit on, smacked. Everything they could do to hurt him, everything that they could, they were doing. And what's amazing, Jesus took that for you and I. The scripture said, like a lamb to the slaughter, he went. I think it's interesting. Just this last week, I had done a few things in the yard and got a couple splinters in my hand. And oh my gosh, for a couple days, those things hurt. I can't imagine, that's just one little pain. You and I sometimes have one little pain in life, one little inconvenience, one little problem, and it really messes up our day, causes a lot of issues. But Jesus, he took the cross for you and I, so our day, not just our day, but our life wouldn't be messed up. I want you to hear this today because I think this is really important. A lot of people think that when Jesus went to the cross, that was it. That was the end. That was the destination. Trip over. Well, let me tell you something. That was Jesus just about to do his thing for you and I. That's what makes today, Good Friday, so wonderful and so good. That down inside of you, where you think you're dead, Jesus is making you alive. And I want you to understand that and recognize that today, because to me, I think that's the best message of Good Friday. So hey, thanks for joining us today on this Good Friday. My prayers are with you that you'll have a great Easter weekend, Hey, as we're doing things a little differently this year, on Sunday at 10:30, we're going to gather together up on 10th and Marshall Street, and we're going to have a drive-in church. And when you pull in, follow the directions to the folks that are going to be parking you. Pull in there, you'll turn your car off, you're going to stay in your car, and you're going to turn your radio to frequency FM 88.5, and then you're going to tune into our service that we're going to do that day. We'll start at 10:30. It won't take a long time for that service, but you're going to get a chance to join us together apart in your car for our Easter Sunday. So we're excited to have you and look forward to seeing you.